Hi, Ron. You got a bunch of all kinds of stuff laying out on the floor here for hydraulic scale repairs. And go ahead and let's talk about what this stuff does. So go ahead, sir.
Okay, these are parts we carry for working on hydraulic scales. We always try to keep extra oil on hand for all the different type of hydraulic scales we work on. We have antifreeze and a fill tube bottle to check for leaks in the actual hydraulic cell. We carry some contact cleaner to clean off the connections where the lines go together, because they're usually always dirty or what have you, and they need to have them pretty clean, put them back together. When we do replace load cells, we always try to save the good pieces of it, like gauge port plugs.
Okay.
We do have new O-rings we keep to replace those to keep the gauge ports clean. We keep the bolts because all the bigger load cells have either clips on them or they bolt directly to the base plate. So we always have extra bolts that we keep on hand in case they get rusted and you're replacing one.
Okay.
This is just oil that's been used and we pump through the totalizer or whatever. You have a purge tube. Everybody should have that. You can't really work on one without it. So when we go to purge the totalizer or the hydraulic cell, we just use this fill bottle here and just put everything in there that's left over. So that's just a.
So that's the bottle. We showed that in the video series down in Columbus. That's the bottle that you guys were bleeding the cells into. That piece of nylon line right there. It's just a piece of I can't even talk here. Piece of 1/8 inch nylon line, and you just put the swag lock ends on the end of it.
Yep. So this would go on the load cell to purge the load cell, and this end actually goes in the totalizer to purge the totalizer.
All right.
So it's a must to have that. And if you're replacing lines on the totalizer, Teflon tape is good to have in the box. Now we buy extra fittings because you never know what you're going to work on, and we always buy a complete fitting to put two lines together. But you can also just take it apart and use parts of it if you need to cut off a line and replace just the end of it. So we just buy the whole set, so you're
directly
good to go for anything.
Directly from Winslow.
Everything's from Winslow.
Okay.
Okay, so we carry the line. We keep it at the shop. Always got to have some extra line. It usually comes in 100-foot roll.
Now let's talk about that. That there is stainless line. That line that they were using in Columbus was the heavy gauge copper.
Correct.
Okay, copper is easier to work with, but stainless is a little more resilient. But the bottom line is they both do the job.
Yes, they both do the job.
Okay.
We've always used stainless for the application we have here.
Okay.
At these places, they beat them up with shovels and
Yep.
Everything. Put the heat on them, and they can take a beating.
Okay.
So you definitely have to have close quarters. Excuse me.
Tubing cutter.
Tubing cutter. Of course, you need a pump, oil pump. This little eyelet that we have here is we use for the railroad, the 200,000 pound cells that you probably see here in one of the videos. What we did to navigate them and get them out of pits that we're in is we would take the gauge port plug out, and this threads nicely into the gauge port.
Which on that load cell right there, you can see the gauge port plug where Ron's pointing.
Yep.
Okay. And we would just take that out and screw the eye bolt right into it.
Yep.
All right.
Now this wouldn't need it on this one, but the railroad load cells are about 275 pounds, so it's tough to manhandle those.
Yep.
This is the best way to do it. Just hook a open hook chain on that, and away you go. Some other tools that you definitely would need is for the valves on the totalizer. It's a square valve wrench.
Okay.
We have a couple of those for the hydraulic.
And you can get them from Winslow.
From Winslow.
Okay.
The totalizer has an electronic cell in it, which is this here. And there's also a tool that you can use get it from Winslow, or I think you can probably get it from another company as well. But
Basically a spanner wrench.
Spanner wrench, and it has a actual Allen head bolt that goes to the base plate.
Okay.
That's how those are mounted on the totalizer. So we have a wrench, and then we got a couple of head gauges here, alignments, F gauge. for different types of cells for when you're installing them. You can center them up on the centering ring. I think we showed that in the...
No, we didn't. We didn't have that set of wrenches there. When we get back to your shop, maybe one of them load cells you got in the shop, we can show how that gauge is used, because I'm kind of curious actually on that.
Right. Or we've got some here we can do.
Okay.
That's pretty much what we carry around every time we do a hydraulic scale. We just take this, put it all in one little box, and take everything.
Okay. Let me ask you a question about that pump. I know we've got a couple of them at Canton. Obviously, you guys have one. I think a lot of the branches do, but if a branch didn't have that pump, it's just a standard grease gun.
This one's an...
Or is it an actual...
Pump, wasn't it? Yeah. You can also get them from Winslow, the ones that they make. I think theirs is a Lincoln.
Yes. It's basically like a grease gun, essentially, but they use it for pumping oil.
Right.
And it comes with the... Show that fitting. Yeah, show that Parker fitting right there. Yep.
And that'll thread right onto the totalizer Parker valve.
Okay.
Or fitting that's on the side, it's an elbow.
And we showed in the video too, Steve was, he was making sure that when we were pumping fluid into the system that we had that held upside down just like you're holding it now, so that we're not...
Air's all up here, that air, and it all automatically go to the top.
Okay, good.
Another thing, that same pump will work for the Cardinal hydraulic scales also. You just need a line that hooks up from the pump to the Cardinal hydraulic cell.
Okay.
Which this is it here.
So that's just an adapter line that hooks to the Cardinal, and then the other end hooks right into the end of the pump.
Yep, swag lock there.
Okay. All
and
right.
We also, at this particular place, we do keep these lines to hook up the totalizers because they out in the field they tend to rust up on the connections, and the swag locks, they're not all stainless, they're more just regular steel, and they're not brass, and they will corrode up and bust off.
Okay. So that's the Mansfield bug out bag, or bug out box if you want to call it, and that's what they carry, so that they have everything with them. I know a lot of the shops do have kits like that. I don't think I've seen one that extensive, so I appreciate these guys showing that to us. And that everything with the exception like the antifreeze, obviously, and the Teflon tape and the contact cleaner, you can get all that from directly from Winslow. All right, guys, thank you. Okay, Ron, we want to show everybody here real quick how to use these F gauges. F is in Foxtrot. And here's the deal. Kind of like the Centurion load cells. This load cell can slide back and forth by unbolting these cleats. Okay, there's one there and there's one right here. And then by unbolting those, we can slide that load cell back and forth so that we can align this top pin. Let me get in up there. That centering ring, okay, because it can move back and forth inside the top of that load cell. So in order to make sure that everything is plumb, like on the Centurions, we put the level on there. But show us how we do that with the gauge.
So this is also known as the head gauge. It has 3 points of contact. The bottom here sets right on the bottom of the load cell.
Okay.
This sets in the center load cell, and the top goes right on the centering ring on top.
Okay.
So basically you're going to check 2 points. That's about all you need.
So you're looking up here. It should touch up there. It should touch there, and it should touch down at the bottom.
Right.
So pretty much.
So you'll adjust the cell by moving it around before you tighten the cleats down. And then come on this side and do the same thing. Now it's kind of in a precarious way here because you can't quite see. It must not quite be on it. Or a piece of debris or something. But you can see that it's just a little bit out of alignment. This one's already been installed for a long time, but what you would do is then you just move the cell to the left till it was touching that top part right here, and then recheck it on this side. So when they're all touching equal, there's no gap between any of the 3 contact points, then your cell is going to pretty much be straight up and down. Then you can put the cleats on top of this cell base here.
Okay, so you can tighten them down.
There's 4 of those, and then you tighten them up. Now this works for this type load cell, and they also have for the smaller load cells for hopper scales that got a small version of that because they're a lot shorter.
Okay.
But Basically, it's just centering it up just like a digital cell.
Okay. Thank you, sir.